Good evening. This is the monthly meeting of the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club PAC Board. And I would like to refer the comment about Channel 26 to John Hanson.
Okay. Yeah, this is being transmitted live on Channel 26. That's Comcast Channel 26. So if you can get that, and if you're on board, hi, glad to have you on board.
Okay, thank you, John. I'd like to call for approval of the final agenda.
I'm sorry, Jay, can we start out like we usually do with just the introductions so people know who we are?
Okay, sure. All right. My name is Jay Shelfer. I am the current president of the PAC board, and our vice president is John Hanson.
Hi, John Hanson here, vice president of the PAC board and chair of the MVES standing committee. And our secretary is Carol Joy Harris.
That's me. Hello, and I'll pass it over to Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Ploker. I am the PAC board treasurer and the chairman of the finance committee. Vicki?
Hi, everyone. I'm Vicki Wydell. I'm a member at large, and I'm delighted to be with you, fellow members tonight, and all of our park residents.
Thank you. Again, now I'd like to call for approval of the final agenda.
Make that motion.
I second it.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, and I'd like to call now for a public comment, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. Does anyone like to speak?
I see a hand up from Ellen Jane.
A hand up from Ellen Jane. Ellen, please.
Hello,
Hi.
thank you. First, I just want to thank Terry for her extensive minutes. And I have questions about the minutes. So I don't know if I should bring it up during public comment or before you approve the minutes.
I think before we approve the minutes would be the appropriate place, Ellen.
Okay, and yeah, because I can't see the agenda at the same time as I'm on Zoom because it's just an iPad, so I can't toggle. So if you tell me, thank
It's
you.
always after public comment.
It's only what?
It's always right after public comment.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, any other? Seeing none, let's move on to the agenda. Let's
Consent
go
calendar.
to, say again, Steve?
Consent calendar.
Consent calendar, correct. Call for the approval of the July 5th meeting. Any comments?
Wait, you have to,
The
Have the
July
motion
5th
first.
minutes. Yeah, I called for the, I
Make a
move
motion
to accept the July 5 minutes.
Second,
Okay, any comments?
yes, I have a couple of corrections. First of all, I want to echo what Ellen Jane said and thank Terry for doing just a superb job on the minutes. I think it's really, really good that people who have, well, I was going to say people who haven't attended the meeting, but even people who have, if you want to go back and refresh your memory and don't want to watch the whole video, you can, or you want a written record. It's just so wonderful to have these detailed minutes. So that being said, there are a couple of corrections in these minutes. One, or maybe, yeah, one is on page 8. The 5th paragraph down, it starts, Vicki commented that this was another reason that Bill Crozier lost his home. And this was my error. I told Terry that the correct spelling of the last name was Crosier, and it's actually Corsier. Crozier. So yeah, minor correction. The other thing, and I'm not sure how to handle this. I believe that Steve misspoke when he was giving the treasurer's report. What page is this on? Consent calendar reports. Okay, it's after, I'm sorry. I should have had the page down. Steve said in his report, that the PAC board annual budget is 4,000 per year, of which we have thus far spent 2,625. And he also said that the petty cash bank account balance is still 2,625. One of those is not correct. I think it was just a miss. So the minutes reflect what Steve actually said. But so should we correct the minutes, or I know what, let's do it this way. When Steve gives his report, he can say, he can make that correction. Does that sound right?
You want me to bring up my prior meeting report?
Well, when you give your report, last month, I think you meant to say 27 such and such. When you said the petty cash balance, you said it's still at, and you
27,
said
25, 36. Yeah.
sorry?
27, 25.36.
Right, but that's not what you said. So when we get to your report, maybe you can correct it. So anyway, so that's not a correction on the minutes, because the minutes reflect what was actually said. So with that one minor correction of that one little letter in that one little last name, I would like to amend the motion to approve the minutes, to say that we would, to approve them as amended.
We still have more comments. Mhm.
Okay.
Ellen Jane.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, on page 6, the next to the last paragraph, I said something about the PG&E guidelines for AC, and the examples of the air conditioning she found were below that guideline. And I'd like it, because I'm pretty sure that I emphasized it, examples of AC she found in the clubhouse were far below that guideline. And then I believe I gave the examples, for example, 63 and 68 degrees. So I wondered if that could be added.
Okay, so add the word far.
Far below.
Before below, and then below that guideline, and then comma, for example, what did you say?
63 and 68 degrees.
63 and 68 degrees. Okay, and then, and stated that it doesn't seem to be monitored, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like it to reflect that. Thank you.
So with that, can we call for the approval of the minutes with those corrections?
Vote.
Are we
Okay.
voting?
No,
Well-
I'm just calling for the approval in the minutes with that correction.
You're making
Those
that
corrections.
amended motion. I see. Okay, I'll second that.
Okay,
Okay, any other comments? Call for a vote, all in favor?
Hello, I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but this is Terry, the recording secretary, and I was able to join by phone. I'm kind of trying to get my Zoom video set up, but anyway, I just moved. So, well, anyway,
Welcome.
I'm kind of trying to get set up. But anyway, thank you so much. I just popped in at about 6:04. I just got back from work in the city, so I was a few minutes late. But I did come in on the tail end of that. So I have the minutes in front of me, and I'm making those corrections. So before you approve them, I thought I would just say, let's make sure I have them, because I got tracking changes on, and then I can make those minor corrections and then send them out right away.
That's all right. We can go
So-
through that at the next meeting. No problem.
Yeah,
Thank
you,
you.
Okay, that's fine. So,
Terry, you
yeah,
can just
so
send
I
me
think-
the corrected minutes and I'll, whenever you get that done, and I'll send, with final at the top and all that, and I'll get those out.
yes, that will
Okay,
be just fine. I
great.
just thought before the vote, you ought to know that I'm kind of correcting as we go.
Okay, great.
But I don't know if I heard the first correction. So
It's on page,
Carol Joy, if you wanted to just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's on page 8. It's to correct Bill Crozier's last name. His last name, I told you the wrong spelling. It should be Crozier. And other than that, it was
Oh.
just the change that
Okay.
Ellen Jane just asked for.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
That's the one I missed, was the misspelling of the name. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, then we're done. All right.
Okay, let's move on.
So
So
we,
for a vote, we got to vote on it, right? That
We did,
right.
yeah, it was
Correct.
5-0, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to reports. Matt Greenberg isn't able to be with us this afternoon, and he passed on a few things to me, which in terms of the fire abatement, John Hanson is going to cover that with MVest. He did point out that he has completed a retaining wall on 44 Clubview, and currently on 63 Marin Valley Drive, they are correcting and redoing that up. So aside from those two items and the report on the water, which was actually quite significant, we've been able to reduce our water usage by nearly 10,000 gallons over the previous year. So we're doing a good job. He's found a number of leaks that have existed for a long time. And as a result, he's able to report that there's less water in the streets and less water seemingly seeping out of the leased properties, along with the fact that the usage has dropped off. So congratulations for the work that Matt's been doing. So if there's any questions about that, otherwise we'll move on to Steve Closure. Any questions? Let's go to Steve and his reports from
Oh,
the Treasury.
excuse me, I think Ellen Jane's hand is up again.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Okay. Yeah, my comment is that sounds like a very reduced general manager's report from last month. And I had a question about the minutes, about what was covered last month. So I was going to chime in during Matt's report. But it sounds like the same thing he said last month, that, significant 10,000 gallons less. And he's caught things that are, it's the same thing as last week. Sorry, I keep saying that, last month. Okay, so my comment, there was something in the minutes on page 5 where Jay stated if the irrigation system is leaking, it's going to be after the meter. And then this is, I think, in conjunction with mentioning that, perhaps the park will do individual meters. And further down, it says, okay. So my question is, doesn't that infer that if we change to individual meters, the residents would not pay for their own irrigation? If the irrigation system is leaking and it's after the meter, doesn't that make it seem like the residents will not be paying for their irrigation and the park will be covering that?
Ellen, why don't you take this up with Matt during the month? I don't want to comment on management's ability to do these things. I mean, generally speaking, that's a question that you can take up with Matt during the month. And since he's not here, why don't you do that?
Okay, well,
May
I don't know if I'm misunderstanding.
Well, it's
know,
speculation.
Before the meter and after the meter, can no one comment on that?
we just need to move on.
But I will correct you, Ellen Jane, in that Last month, it was that our usage was down 7,000 gallons. Now it's down 10,000. That's
Okay.
significant, even over last month.
Yeah, no, okay, that's,
Okay.
thank you for clarifying that. But nobody can speak to the before the meter or after the meter?
Well, it's not an existing situation. It's a possibility when we redo the meters. So there's nothing to be said.
It's years from now, Ellen Jane. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
something-
I was trying to understand it. I was trying to,
Okay,
clarify
but
my-
it's not in this report, and that you need to talk with Matt. We need to get on with our meeting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to Steve. Treasury report and the Finance Committee report.
Okay, our petty cash account is still exactly $2,725.36. And if I said a different amount last meeting, that was incorrect. Because it's been this way for about 4 or 5 months. How is that? Most of the PAC board expenses are handled and paid by Matt out of the park's general account, and then he posts them to our expense account. The petty cash account just exists in case, if we have an urgent need to spend a small amount of money and Matt's not available. I can write a check, or Jay can write a check. We can go buy what we need to buy, copy, paper, postage, whatever. But it rarely arises, so it's not a problem that our cash account stays the same for many months. The financial report for the year end, our finances are good, and we ended up with a DSCR of 2.10. That's above 2.0, so that's good. It's actually even better because it doesn't take into account our earnings on our savings accounts, the $6 million we have in the bank. We rarely find out about that, but it's certainly several $1,000s, not 35,000 like in the budget. That's a leftover amount from years ago. We aren't earning that kind of interest anymore. But my main point is the DSCR would be a little bit higher if we had those earnings in the report. So we're healthy, moving forward. John.
Yes, Steve, I'm wondering if you could just very briefly explain DSCR for those that are new to our
DSCR means
meeting.
debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. It's a common measurement that banks or financing institutions will use to check and see if the business or organization that they loaned money to is healthy and capable of paying its debts. So basically it means that our bottom line is twice as big as our debt service. So we have always met that or above it. So that means in their eyes, we're healthy. It's got nothing to do with the laws or the IRS or the government, or it's just our relationship with the bank because we have a bank loan.
Thanks, Steve.
I
That's
talk
perfect.
about it because when I first got here, it seemed like people were always worried about it. So I always address it at the meeting.
Well, I mean, the point is, Steve, of course, and we all know that since the city oversees the budget, we have to create a budget that assures that we can cover our debt service ratio. And that precludes raising rents, which is something that all the residents are obviously very interested in. So we have to monitor that amount, and we have to be careful in how the budget is laid out, that there's enough funds to cover the funding of the bank loan and the interest that we owe.
Until it's paid off.
Until it's paid off. And for new residents, there is a prospect of paying off that bank loan prematurely, because it does cost us quite a bit of money in interest, and we have enough funds to in effect do that, but we're waiting to see a report that's being finalized now about what kind of reserves we actually need in order to maintain our infrastructure going forward. So we don't want to strip our reserves by paying off that loan until we're sure of that. And later this year, we should be getting that report. So until then, we just have to be very financially responsible for how we manage the park finance without raising rents, of course.
And we're always financially responsible. I just have one point of clarification. Steve, I'm not sure I heard you correctly. Just my hearing. Did you say our DSCR right now is 2.10? Is that what you said? Thank you.
That's what I said.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments about Steve's report? Okay, so we can move on to the 2x2 report. And again, for new residents, the 2x2 is a exchange between the PAC board and the city staff, where we have an opportunity to discuss issues that are relevant to the park and overseen by the city. So it is a meeting where we can talk freely, and there's no set agenda. There is an agenda of items that we wish to talk about, but it's not something that we continually report on. Having said that, one of the items that we've been talking about is the new rules and regs. And Carol Joy, would you like to just comment on that?
Yes, we've been waiting for an approval or at least comment on the draft proposal that we submitted about 1.5 years ago to the city for them to review, to tell us what is enforceable, what isn't. We need an answer from some legal department, whether it's theirs, ours, or some other. And we have been promised movement on that this month, actually, August, and hopefully we will have more to report maybe as soon as next month's PAC board meeting. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Very nice.
Okay, any other comments? So let's move on to project planning. Myself and John Hanson. Again, project planning is basically just treading water at this point, because again, those projects often will require us taking money out of reserves because they'd be, for the most part, capital improvements. And until we get a better handle on the amount of money that we actually have to maintain in reserves and our ability to deal with the improvements that are being done to the infrastructure, we really can't push ahead too much with these projects. So unless John has something to say, I'm just saying that we're going to have to wait until we get that report from the city before we move ahead on any of the projects we would like to accomplish. John, do you have anything?
Jay, well, yeah, the only thing I have to add is probably saying the same thing you did with different words, but that, yeah, we've got some major projects that are in the wings right now. And we just not certain exactly when they're going to come through. Some of them, if they're going to come through, and what the schedules on those are going to be. So with that, we have to sort of wait to see what happens there, and then the city will also with paying off the loan, and we'll see what sort of money's available. So there's a lot of things in the air right now. So we're not doing any additional capital project planning.
Exactly. Okay, any comments from the board or residents? Okay, so John, could you bring us up to date with MVEST and the fire abatement program?
Okay, yes, there's, let me share my screen here so you can see what's going on. Let's see, this is a map sort of the park. And I don't know if you can see it in the upper left-hand corner, this is the area to the south and southwest of Fallen Leaf Way and of Clubview. And that area is called Location 1, and Wilhelm Tree Service has already cleared that area to the extent that they're going to, and I'll mention what that amounts to in a moment here. The second area where they are right now, if you look at the bottom of the map here, the area between Marin Valley Drive and View Ridge, that is the area that's being worked on right now. And you see there are two other areas here. Those are area location 2 and location 3. What you just showed with the first one is location 1 and location 4. Anyway, so after we get those two completed, the other two will be next year, because we will have exhausted our funds for that kind of work this year, which is substantial. Now, what they're actually doing there, they're not clear cutting the land, and they're not working with the grass at all. But the goats have already done that actually in both of those areas. But what Wilhelm Tree is doing is that they are limbing the trees that are there, limbing them up to about 13 feet above grade. They're taking out dead trees and diseased and trees that are dangerous, and they're also taking out the ladder fuel brush that's underneath those trees, and they're also removing those large stands of poison oak that have grown in the area there over the years. So the work they've done has been absolutely gorgeous. I am totally impressed. It's the best work that I've seen any tree service do anywhere as far as defensible space and the wildland urban interface. So there have been questions by some residents about removing trees. They did remove some trees, but like I mentioned, those are diseased trees or ones that are about ready to fall on the retaining walls. For example, down here, just above Marin Valley Drive between roughly 107 and 137. And we selected those particular areas, first of all, rather than going from location 1 to location 2, then to 3, and then doing location 4 last. Location 4 is below the grade on many homes, all up View Ridge. So we decided that that would be the best thing to do next, is to complete that area and safe that particular hillside. So if there is a fire that were to take off in that area, it would grow very slowly because the grass is very low. It would not go into the trees because they're limbed up, and the ladder fuel beneath those trees is removed. So it's about the best that anybody could do. So are there any questions on that I might be able to answer?
John, the fact that this hasn't been really worked on for 25 or 30 years, an incredible amount of debris and fallen snags, so to speak, have been accumulating. And that appears to me of being a big fire danger, that it would produce a very intense fire that could rain down embers on the whole park area. And all we have to do is lose one home, and it would just be a domino effect because our homes are so close. So
well, that's right. And yes, I forgot to mention, they did remove all of the dead and down, which all the dead trees that have fallen over the years. They're not that big of a fire hazard by themselves, making an intense flame, but they are a fire hazard in terms of lasting a long time. If there was a fire in there, then they would catch fire, and they would burn for a long time until a crew actually went in and with a fire hose and put it out. As it is now, with that material removed, a fire could burn in there and not linger at all. So it would burn some of the grass on the way up the hill, and that would be about it. So
Yeah.
it's improved the safety of the areas that have been worked on tremendously. And that really is meeting the letter of the request by the fire district for what we need to do. That those areas will grow in time too, as the fire district is working on a CEQA study right now. That's California Environmental Control, Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. Anyway, this requires an extensive report to be done in the application to do the work in these areas. Anyway, the fire district is working on that report right now, so that in the future, we will be able to do everything all the way up to the ridge line, all the way around. So something I should mention too is we're not removing all of the brush, just the brush that's underneath the trees. So we're leaving some of the brush for habitat for birds and other small animals. So what we will end up with when this is completed is a very healthy environment, one that fire can go through and not cause damage, and actually be beneficial to that environment. That's a natural state of California, quite frankly. And we have not observed that for over 100 years. So that's the change. That's the new research and the direction that everything is going. And we're right at the cutting edge here. So I'm very proud to say that that we are there and that this work is being done. Any questions? Any further questions on this?
On the board? I see Ellen has her hand up.
Yes,
Ellen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ellen Chang.
Thank you. Yeah, from what I can see, as I'm walking down the hill, it's dramatic, the difference that they've made, like in back of the homes, like from Alan Wong's and down there. And it's not, I won't use the word manicured, but it looks good. It's not denuded, but it looks stunning, kind of. And my question is, how did you find Wilhelm? And another question is, I always wondered why Marin Tree got everything, if it goes out to bid and they just won, or why they do everything. Is there any chance of Wilhelm being the primary tree service here instead of Marin Tree, with whom I have a couple issues? So those are my questions. How'd you find them? Can we keep them, or what happens?
Okay, Wilhelm is a heavy lifter. You know, they don't do the sort of manicuring work in the park, as you use your word, in the park on trees and shrubs that Marin Tree does. Marin Tree, quite frankly, is one of the best that I know of in the county, as far as doing the kind of work they do in manicuring the trees in the park. So Wilhelm is a heavy lifter. They work in they work off-road, and they work in the wildland urban interface, and they work elsewhere too. They're one of the primary contractors for PG&E, and they're also doing some of the work for the MWPA, or the Marin Wildfire Protection Agency. So yeah, so they're a heavy lifter all through Marin, Sonoma, and Napa counties, and they go elsewhere as well. They do a lot of real heavy work. You may have noticed that the trucks are big, heavy trucks that carry 20,000 pounds of stuff, and they have a grappling, it's a massive, giant grappling hook that grabs dead trees and puts them in the back of the truck, just like it was picking up sticks or something. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing and everything they do along the way. It's if you if you haven't watched them, go down and watch them just for a few minutes. It's very inspiring.
Okay,
Well, I have it.
Anila,
I see the cat.
it's not a discussion, Ellen. Anila?
Could we have pictures and a small, doesn't need to be a lot with these pictures, they're ages. Doesn't need to be a whole lot of words, but maybe some of what you just said for the next echo.
In the next echo, I'm preparing an article on that will cover this, as well as pretty much an overview on our entire strategy for wildfire mitigation. So it will include this. There'll be some pictures in there, and I try to piece everything all together. The home hardening, the D-space around the yards, the 5-foot zone, and everything. So I probably won't do very good at it, but I'll give it a try.
You do just fine. Thank you.
John, anything else?
The only other thing that I'd like to mention is, let's see, some of the other things that MVest is doing right now. It's mostly subcommittees and or task force, if you wish, that are working right now on various of our programs that are timely for this time of year. That includes some wildfire work, and mostly the MVest committee will be working on that. Also the dense smoke, which we've been spared so far. We got some huge fires, get the wind in the wrong direction, we'll be right back in that soup again. So we're putting together a protocol, MVest protocol for to address the dense smoke. Power outage, we already have a protocol there, but we need to massage that a little bit. And then we're also working on a high heat protocol at the present time too. So those are the things that are going on right now. We'll have some reports on progress on those coming up at the right now. It looks like we'll have our monthly rather than weekly MVest meeting for August will be next Monday on the 8th at 5 o'clock. Anybody wish to receive the URL on the Zoom invite for that, then let me know. That's it for my MVest report.
Okay, any questions from the board? Any comments from the residents? Okay, so let's move on to HOL and John Feld.
Hi, once again, as you know, our meeting is tomorrow, and so I can't tell you the latest news because I won't learn it until tomorrow. But you're all, of course, welcome to come to the fireside room and find out for yourself. In the interim, we had a dump run, which was our most busy dump run ever. We couldn't actually finish all the people that we wanted to do. But I think there were 34 houses altogether, which is a lot, a real lot. And we got good help and we got some money for it. But altogether it was successful. I'm guessing the next dump run, and I'm putting words in other people's mouth, but it will probably be sooner rather than the time that we've just had. We have a new board member. Lisa Jackler is joining HOL as a board member, and tomorrow night will be her first night on the board. We
John,
have
can you tell us where that meeting is going to be?
in the fireside room at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Michaela Dancer. Michaela is on the board already, and so the HOL is pretty dynamic and growing and being productive. We're working with MVest to. We've started a committee. I'm not sure if it's an MVest committee or an HOL committee, but both probably, to look at how we can improve defensible space around people's homes. So we're looking at basically fire danger and the first 5 feet of cleaning up around houses. Some people have done magnificent work, and they're getting very substantial grants from the city and the fire department, and it's going very well. Other than that, I think that's about it, unless you've got any questions.
Any questions from the board? Residents? Okay, thank you, John.
Come to the meeting. Thank you.
Carolyn Corey, would you like to report on Marval?
I have a report from Carolyn Corey. Fred Dargy has decided to retire. Thank you, Fred, for your 20 years of service tending the bar. It's no small feat remembering everyone's favorite drink and their preferences. A little ice here and a dash of bitters there. Marval is actively working on energizing pub nights and events. Here's what we have to look forward to in the near future. August 20, picnic in the park. September 5, Labor Day. September 23rd, Oktoberfest. That's it.
Thank you, Vicki. Any questions from the board? Any questions from residents?
I have a question. Is there a bartender in waiting?
I don't have any other information. We'll have to wait to see what Carolyn has to say. But they are actively looking into some changes, and I'm sure the replacement of Fred is, of course, not going to be always easy, but they're
No.
working hard on it.
I have another question. I see Carolyn's, I see a square there for Carolyn, so I don't know whether she's actually here or not, but is there going to be a Halloween party this year, a Black Cat, or is there no information yet?
No information yet.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki, for Marvel's report. So since seeing there's no other question, we'll move on to old business, which is none, and new business, which is none.
My hand
and-
is up, Jay. My hand is up.
Oh,
I was waiting for the part of the agenda where we ask about the website, but is that just on the MVS meetings?
Yes, it's not on this agenda.
Okay, all right. Wrong meeting. Thank you.
okay. So, I mean, I'll open it again if there is any other public comment in the moment before we close the meeting and determine the next meeting. Seeing none, I'm going to say that the next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, September the 6th at 6 p.m. Is everyone in accord with that? Okay, so seeing none, I will call for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Thank you,
Good
one and
discussion.
all. See you
Bye-bye.
September 6th.
Thank you.
Bye.